The Senate voted unanimously to inject another hundreds of billions of dollars into businesses and companies that need help. The measure injects $310 billion into a key loan program designed to keep employees on company payrolls. The initial $350 billion in the so-called Paycheck Protection Program, which is part of the $2 trillion rescue package, dried up last week, and the Democrats were dragging their feet. They're finally agreeing, and the Senate passed it. Now it goes to the House, and it is expected to be signed by the president very quickly. We have 45,075 deaths in America due to coronavirus, 825,000 cases confirmed in the country. Around the world, 2.5 million confirmed cases. Worldwide, 178,845 deaths. You know, I always am intrigued by those two numbers, the U.S. number of deaths and the worldwide numbers. It just seems so disproportionate to the United States, doesn't it? You think of the entire planet, 178,000 poor people dying of this vicious virus, 45,000, it almost feels like almost a third of all deaths occurring here in the United States. Of course, you've got big populated cities like New York and people on top of each other there. The numbers in New York, at least 10,500 people have died in New York City, nearly 15,000 throughout the state of New York. I want to start this hour with a little media story. I don't do this very often, but this is pretty profound. We understand what a cable network like CNN has become. If you watch any of CNN, it's sort of dedicated to trying to tear down President Trump every minute of every hour of every day. There's no balance. There's very short shrift given to anybody who tries to defend the president. And in fact, it's gotten so bad that CNN will not carry the president's addresses to the nation daily. He holds these daily task force briefings every afternoon at like 5:30, 5:45. They cut away apparently and won't carry it. Now, I don't really pay much attention to them because I just don't care. I don't watch them. I know what they are. I know who they are. They're vicious. I've seen some of these faces and voices, just horrific, vile things are said routinely about the president of the United States. And I know that if you're a regular CNN viewer, you probably, I guess you feel that way. How could you not? I mean, I'm sure you're watching a network that reflects your beliefs. And if you think it's normal or acceptable that they cut away from very important press briefings that try to update the American people about what we're experiencing with this pandemic, well, you're on a different planet than me. Because that's a sickness. That's saying, you know what, we're going to make an editorial decision and we're not even going to give this press briefing when the president speaks. And of course, I have a theory. Most of the time at these press briefings, the president comes off looking great. He's transparent. He can be combative. When he gets pushed, he pushes back and calls out CNN all the time because they're the worst. And everybody knows they're the worst. That's just what they do. And, I suppose we have to accept that. But the reason I want to tell you this media story is because you just have to understand how corrupt, how grotesque the media can be. Chris Cuomo is one of the primetime stars of CNN. He's a feisty guy, brother of the governor. I've met Chris years ago. Nice guy. I'm sure Andrew Cuomo's a nice guy. I don't know who they are. I mean, personally. But very successful at CNN, and he was diagnosed weeks ago with coronavirus. And of course, all reasonable, normal, caring people prayed for his recovery, prayed for his family, thought it was awful news. This virus doesn't care whether you're a CNN anchor or a Fox News anchor. Doesn't care if you're right, left. Doesn't care if you're politically agnostic. It is a vicious, really, really terrifying virus. It just is. It's not the flu. We don't lose 45,000 people in a few weeks to the normal flu. It's rough. This is a rough virus. There are people that are young and healthy who have died terrible deaths. Most people who have died are older or have had underlying conditions, but not all. And we need to know that. We need to respect the intensity and the viciousness of this virus. So nobody is glad if somebody you disagree with politically gets coronavirus. Nobody. So there's Chris Cuomo, but he was working in his basement. He lives out in the Hamptons. Beautiful, beautiful area right on the water there. A lot of wealthy New Yorkers have another home out there. They have summer homes, and he obviously has not one, but he's building a second summer home, or another home, I guess, in the Hamptons. I believe he lives currently in Southampton. And he traveled a week or so ago while he's been fighting through coronavirus to East Hampton. It's another part of the Hamptons where he apparently is building a new home. It's a new construction site. And while he was at the new construction site, out and about with his family, I guess, there was a guy on a bike who came up to him and said, "Your brother's the coronavirus czar, and you're not even following his rules. Unnecessary travel. You're COVID-19 positive. What are you doing?" Cuomo responded, according to his own version of this, "Who the hell are you? I can do what I want." He called the guy out. They got into a verbal altercation. The guy, filed a police report and everything. And then a couple of days later on his Sirius XM radio show, Chris Cuomo said, "I was confronted by a jackass, loser, fat tire biker." And he said this whole big bravado thing about how he would have liked to have really gotten into it, but he's a public figure and he's on TV and he can't. He kind of made himself out to be the victim. Anyway, so this was a week or so ago. It was Easter where this happened, this confrontation with the guy. And one of the issues was, what's he doing out when he's supposed to be in quarantine? Oh, well, he was out, I guess. I don't know. So Monday on CNN, with great fanfare, CNN played a clip. And the clip, as presented by Chris Cuomo, showed a dramatic emergence. Now remember, Cuomo's been doing his show from his basement in the Hamptons, right? Unlike a lot of us. I'm doing my show from my kitchen in Florida. I don't have a basement. I don't have a home in the Hamptons. I've got a condo in Florida, and I'm in my kitchen every day broadcasting from here. A lot of us are working. All those Fox News anchors, they're all in their homes. Nobody's working in the office yet, especially in New York. So here's the big emergence video. Again, big fanfare, make a big announcement. Here's Chris Cuomo with a dramatic breakthrough Monday.
All right, here it is. The official reentry from the basement, cleared by CDC. A little sweaty, just worked out. Happens. This is what I've been dreaming of, literally for weeks. My wife, she was cleared by the CDC. She doesn't have fever. She doesn't have the symptoms anymore, more than 7 days from her quarantine. We're still a little scared, so I'll just give you one of these. 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 Bella has, of course, taken the video. This is the dream, just to be back up here doing normal things.
Now, you understand the timing? He's saying that after he's already been out and about in the Hamptons visiting his other property where a home apparently is under construction. And of course, social media went nuts saying, wait a minute. Last week, you were in a verbal altercation outside with a guy that was very well publicized. Why are you pretending you're just emerging from your basement for the first time Monday? Well, the answer is they're lying. There's not a dramatic emergence. It's totally staged and dramatized, and I think this is what you would probably literally call fake news. And it just continues with these guys at CNN. I don't know who's calling them out. I mean, I'm reading something in New York Magazine. They're not typically very conservative friendly. Chris Cuomo airs dramatic basement emergence a week after leaving basement. And again, the fact is, it was kind of obvious to the world that he's already been out of his basement by his own admission. This is that's like a deceptive. You're staging something, I guess, for the benefit of a narrative that isn't even true. And I don't know how Chris Cuomo and CNN didn't recognize everybody would know it wasn't true, because his run-in, his altercation with the biker was a week ago. And then there's Jake Tapper. Mayor de Blasio said something yesterday that got people pretty excited. It was a really nice thing. I don't agree with de Blasio on anything. I think he's a terrible mayor. But you know what? I always give credit where credit is due. And the mayor said, when this is all over, and I'm paraphrasing here, but when we get through this, we're going to have a giant ticker tape parade. And incidentally, for people who don't know what a ticker tape parade is, I got a couple of notes about this. A ticker tape parade is just it's a parade down what they call the Canyon of Heroes. The Yankees have done it over the years, and returning astronauts, and they're showered down with confetti, hence the ticker tape. And it's just a big celebration of heroes. And Mayor de Blasio said, when we're through this, we're going to have the biggest, most exciting ticker tape parade for our healthcare workers, for our hospital workers, our nurses, our doctors, our first responders, the men and women on the front lines. And it was a nice, warm, really touching thing to say, but not to CNN. The network that stages fake reemergences for star anchors to pretend that they're coming out of, quarantine after many weeks, has another anchor named Jake Tapper who promptly shot down the idea of a heroes parade for healthcare workers in New York City.
Having a parade in New York City is one of the stupidest ideas I've ever heard. Erica Hill, thank you so much. Joining me now is the Democratic mayor. I hear you, but still.
And it amazed me because it hit me like a ton of bricks. These guys don't want any good news. They don't want anything positive. A parade, a heroes ticker tape parade, is too positive. That gives people optimism. That gives people something to look forward to. De Blasio didn't say the parade was tomorrow. He didn't say it was next month. He said when it's over. Jake Tapper doesn't want it to be over, I guess. CNN doesn't want it to be over. They want misery. They want people cowering in their homes. They're going to attack mercilessly Georgia and South Carolina and Tennessee and the 20 other states that are planning to reopen. They're going to go after anybody who tries to have some optimism and some hope and some decent news for a change. For CNN and the Trump-hating, corrupt mainstream media, the longer this misery lasts, the better for them. And I just find that disgusting.